Hey, I'm Ron Drotos from keyboardimprov.com, and thanks for joining me here as we look at yet another myth that holds so many of us back, and to see how we can get around this and maybe see the truth behind the myth, the context that it can actually help us. This is the 8th in a series. Got about 30 or 35 of these planned. We'll see how far we get. If you have any myths that you'd like to ask about, please leave a comment, and I'll either leave a comment, a reply, or maybe make a video if it's something that is truly a myth and confusing to a lot of people. So this myth says that to learn to improvise, you have to learn a bunch of licks and string them together. And I hear this all the time. I actually hear people say that they're love the fact they're learning how to improvise because they hear other people stringing licks together, and it doesn't really sound that great. It sounds like it's a logical thing. You know, you learn, let's say you're learning the blues. You hear this. Sounds great, so I'll learn that. And then another one. Okay, that's another lick. And then let's say I even know a third one. Nice tremolo between the 5th and the 7th. So I know 3 licks. Then another one. And then this. 3 licks, okay? All really good licks. Well, each of those is kind of like a phrase we're learning, you know, hello, dear sir or madam, you know, how are you? You know, so you learn these phrases, but in language, we pretty quickly learn that we have to get beyond that. They might sort of get us started. So licks can be a good way to just learn the basic vocabulary of a style. But how long can you just play 3 licks, you know? And how many licks can you memorize? Do you want to learn 100 licks before you can play with some freshness and variety over, course of a week or something? So, let's say I have this. Then I'll use it here. Then here. Then I'll go to the other one. I'll do it again. Then I'll do the tremolo. Then the first one again. Then the second one. Well, that sounded great for a chorus. I could probably even do some variations and sound good for 2 choruses or 3 choruses on those basic motifs. But then what happens for the rest of the jam session or on every other tune? Or jazz licks, 2, 5, 1s. Well, what am I going to do if I'm playing tune up? If I'm going to go. And then do it again. And then a third time. See what I mean? It sounds good for a while. So I'm not saying it's not good to learn licks. You can learn them, but use them as a way to start getting familiar with the language and the phrasing. So a fun thing, I was teaching someone once, great guy, kind of beginning jazz pianist, and had spent a lot of time learning licks and patterns, a lot of time. And I was saying, okay, that's great. Now let's start letting go of that a little. And if you play a chord progression in C, for instance, just explore the scale maybe, or chord tones. So finally got him to do this and let go of the licks a little bit. And he played this really, really nice solo, sort of like what I was doing, but really sustained it over about 32 bars and was doing some creative things, really connecting with his ear like he had never done before. And then I said at the end, that was great. And he just said, oh no, that was nothing. I was just noodling around. And I'm like, yes, that's the definition of improvising, noodling around, right? Sort of, finding your way, not knowing what's going to come up, not relying on things that you already know. You can always bring the licks back in a little bit. You can play for a while. And then noodle around some more, Noodling around is a casual term, right? Sometimes you want to stay really focused too. But the idea is that you don't really know what's happening. You say, oh, I'll play this, and then I'll try this, and oh, this chord's going here, right? That's improvising. So I would say learn licks, but just stringing them together is not a way to approach improvisation. Or it's a small part of it. If you want to do that sometimes, do it, but 99% of your time should be just improvising, even if it doesn't always sound as good right away. It will eventually. You want to be yourself, you want to use your ear, improvise, and use licks to sort of supplement that and help you learn the language. Don't rely on it. And certainly after a couple of years, when you're at the intermediate level, do not just string together licks like I hear. It's not doing your musical individuality a service. You want to find out who you are. You know, maybe write some of your own licks and then alter them and everything. But just stringing them together usually sounds a little stilted, and it eventually becomes a dead end, whether we realize it or not at the time. It's not going to help us grow. So improvise, learn licks as a way to learn the language, not as an end in themselves. Have fun and always enjoy the journey and let the music flow.